This is What School Didn't Teach Me, a podcast meant to build community on all the things school doesn't prepare you for. Hi, I'm your host, Jasmine Kiamber, and class is in session. Hey, classmates, it's your host, Jasmine Kiamber, and y'all already know what time it is. Welcome back to another episode of What School Didn't Teach Me. I'm excited you're here today. Oh, I told myself I was going to stop saying excited. So my word of the week is jovial. I'm in a very jovial mood today because you've decided to join me in the classroom. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot. I feel like our topic today might not put y'all in a jovial mood. But I'm in a jovial mood because you've decided to spend your time with me. So whatever you're doing, whether you're driving, washing dishes, like going on a morning run, whatever you're doing, thank you so much for joining in to the classroom. And no matter where you're watching from, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you've decided to tune in from, I'm just glad you're here. Y'all already know that our theme for this month is to invest in ourselves, to talk about different ways that we can pour into ourselves that have both short-term and long-term benefits, right? And last week we had a wonderful guest, my first lady, Lady Dominique Haddon, talk to us about how to maintain our identity while we're in a relationship with others, right? Things that we can do for ourselves while we still cater to our boo thing or spend time with them or place them on whatever hierarchy of your life they belong in, but still not forgetting about yourself, right? Still setting certain boundaries for yourself. So this episode actually falls in that same little category of boundaries, right? There's no way that we'll be able to sow proper seeds in ourselves if we don't have good boundaries, right? And so today, this week, I want to talk about how it's okay to say no, right? If you're anything like me, well, I'll just speak from my own story. Growing up, it was very hard for me to say no. Like I was just an agreeable person, right? Like even if I disagreed with certain things, you know how a teacher asks a question and they ask it to the class, who thinks it's A, who thinks it's B? I might be the person who thinks it's A, but just because everybody else is raising their hand for B, I might just raise my hand for B. Every now and again, if I was feeling a little risque, a little bold, I might raise my hand for what I really felt. But a lot of times I would just go with what the crowd, what the majority agreed with, right? And it would kind of be in the same thing with my social life. I used to be the person who was just down for the ride. If we were doing things and I didn't even necessarily want to do them, I did not always have good boundaries set in place to say, I'm really not comfortable being in this space, or I'm really not comfortable being around those people. And so it would make me wind up in situations where I just didn't necessarily want to be there. And then it would be in the same thing with like academic settings or professional settings. You might overcommit. I know for me, it's like, oh, I've agreed to do this presentation and to show up for this person and to do this XYZ for these people. And now I either don't have time for myself, or it's just harder for me to get everything done because I have so much on my plate. Why? Because I could not say no, right? I know for me, growing up, it was very, very hard for me to say no. And it left very little time for me to actually take care of myself. And so if you're anything like me, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the classroom. You're not alone. You'll never be alone. That's why we're here to create community and talk about topics that school may not teach you, right? So come sit next to me. Let's talk about it. But honestly, saying no is a part of good boundaries, right? So like by the time I became an adult, I had to learn. I knew I was not going to survive without good boundaries. I knew that when I went to college, like I was going to make a whole restart on my boundaries. Going to set new boundaries, going to make new standards and expectations, going to tolerate new things. And a large part of that was learning how to say no. And baby, it like you would think it's easy, right? Like it's one word, two letters, N-O. You know your alphabet, you know how to say N, you know how to say O, no, you know how to say it. It just seems easy, right? But it was literally not. I'm not going to say it was the hardest thing in the world to learn how to do, but I will say that it was extremely hard to go from being there for everybody and, you know, being accessible to everybody and lending a hand whenever I felt like I had one, to reserving my yeses for when I really met them, right? That was something I had to learn how to do. And so if you're somebody who really doesn't have who is working on their boundaries, or who it's not easy for them to say no, that's fine. That's what this episode is for. Like, we're going to talk about how it's just okay to say no sometimes. It's okay. I know sometimes we don't want to say no because we don't want to hurt other people. We think other people need us and we want to be there for other people. We want to share moments with people. You want people to think that you're reliable. Like, whatever your reasoning is for not wanting to say no, I get it. I get it because it's normal and we all go through it. But if you're really trying to sow seeds into yourself, you can't be giving out everything to other people. Then you'll have nothing for yourself, right? You'll have nothing for yourself. I was watching this sermon from Jerry Flowers called The Firefighter Series. Me and my Bible study group, me and my prayer call group, we have been watching the Firefighter series together. So pastor, his name is Jerry Flowers, and I want to say it was the second, oh no, it was the third. In the third sermon of the series Firefighters, he mentioned that people pleasers, and that's a lot of times the people who can't say no, that's okay. That's okay. People pleasers started out as what they call parent pleasers. And I don't know if that's true for anybody else, but I know that's definitely true for me. Like, growing up, it was just me and my mom. So, like, anything my mama needed, I'm dropping whatever I got to give to her. I'm dropping whatever I need to do to, like, make sure she has it, make sure she just feels like she is supported. That wasn't really my job, and I don't think anybody necessarily made it my job, but it's the role that I took on because I realized at an early age that it was just me and her, right? And I don't know what the situation was like for you. I don't know what your introduction to learning that no was a bad word to say. I don't know what that introduction was like for you. But somehow a lot of us get to the place where it just becomes hard to say no, like, for whatever reason. We may not want to let other people down. We may not want somebody to feel rejected. Like, whatever it is, no becomes a bad word, but it's not. It's literally the only way that you can set good boundaries. And I remember when I first really started getting into the groove of standing firm on my boundaries and, like, setting new rules and standards for myself and for the people around me, I remember how anxious I felt when I had to tell people no, right? I remember in the beginning how anxious it felt to say, no, that's mine, you can't have that. Or, no, I'm not comfortable giving you this. Or, I might not have the time to do X, Y, and Z. Or, I can't help you with this because I have that going on. I remember it being like, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me. But then when the time really rolled around, I remember how relieved I felt that I had either set time for myself aside or ended up or completely dodged a bullet. Like, there were times where I said no to something just because my instinct and intuition told me to, and I completely dodged bullets, like literal bullets. So I just want to encourage you, like, if you feel like if you are just now starting your journey with boundaries, welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. It may be hard now, but it will get easier. And learning how to implement the word no into your schedule is going to push you so far by leaps and bounds. So yeah, I remember in the beginning it was really, really anxious for me, right? Like, I literally could not say no, or I could not reject someone's offer or invitation, or somebody's request without feeling like I had failed them, or feeling inadequate in some way, or feeling guilty that I did not have time for them, or feeling guilty that I don't have time for them because I'm making time for myself. Like, I remember feeling really disappointed in the beginning, or like I was disappointing them, right? Like, I felt like I was disappointing other people because I was not there for them, especially if they were so used to me like dropping everything that I was doing to help and assist them. I felt like I felt like the shift from me going from, oh yeah, you need that, of course, to only being able to give people 15 minutes of my time was very anxiety provoking in the beginning. And I did some research, right? Because of course I got to do research before, like, I can talk about my own experience, but I actually want to be helpful. So I had to do some research before I recorded this episode. And so I was doing some research on like, why do you feel guilty when you say no, right? Like, why do those two little letters make you feel so guilty after you say them? And what I found is like, a lot of times we don't want to let people down. A lot of times we don't want to be rude to other people. Like I said earlier, at some point we learned that no was a bad word to say. And so saying it, using it, enforcing it, and then standing on it, because that's a really big part of it as well, can feel like you are letting other people down. It can feel like really, really disappointing. And so in return, I had to research like, how can you say no without feeling so guilty? Because at the end of the day, you don't deserve to feel guilty about choosing yourself or about limiting the things that you can do in X amount of time, right? So I looked it up. How can we say no without feeling guilty? And one of the first things that came up was stand on your no. And at first I was like, what do you mean stand on your no? Like, obviously I said no. I got the words out of my mouth. I'm not going to take it back, right? But then I realized, like, especially in professional settings, right? You can say, oh, I don't have the time for this. And then a boss or a friend is like, oh, but it'll only take a little bit. Or, oh, we're only going to go out to one more place. Or, oh, it's just one more drink. Or whatever the case is, they will push your no. And I've been in situations where I've been like, no. And then somebody's been like, oh, but it's just this or that. Or, oh, but it won't take that long. And I've backed up on my boundary and then regretted it literally immediately after. So I'm going to extend that same tip to y'all. Don't back down on your no. After you say no, your no is your no. Like, other people might, I'm not going to say they are, I'm not going to put a guarantee on anyone. Other people might come in and try to get you to change your mind, try to get you to squeeze them into your schedule. It's okay to not have that time. First of all, in your schedule, you should have time for you, right? A lot of times when you have trouble saying no, you're saying yes all the time, which means you're probably overcommitting to the amount of things you have to do within a day, a week, a month, right? Which means that you don't really have a whole lot of time for yourself, a lot of time to sit down, decompress, or even think about the other things that are on your to-do list before you're saying yes to another event. I was like that too. I literally thrived on having like packed days. I remember my freshman year of college, my day started at like 8 a.m. and did not end till 11:59 because I had an entire packed day. Like, it was one thing after the next. And I lived like that for 2 semesters, for like a whole year. And I thought that I was thriving that way because I was always busy and it made me feel important and it made me feel productive. But the truth was, I was literally killing myself. Oh my gosh, like, life did not have to be that way. Life did not have to be jam packed, but I didn't know that. I thought that if I had a free space, I was supposed to fill it with something productive, but I forgot about myself, right? I want to extend that same tip to you. When you look at your week, your days, your months, make sure that you are setting time for you, right? Like, if you are saying yes to one thing after the next, you're not even getting a chance to stop and think about you. Think about taking care of yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, but you are continually saying yes to other people, at some point you're going to start running on empty. You're not even attempting to fill your cup anymore. You're just going and going and going and going. That's not good. You know, like a car that runs on E, it doesn't. Right. Don't be the car that runs on E. Like, make sure you are blotting time for yourself when you are scheduling things. And if something comes up and it's a part, and if something comes up and it's in that block that you have scheduled for yourself, don't say yes. The time that you spend with yourself is just as important, is more important than the time that you spend doing something quote unquote productive. Remember that you're putting yourself first. Remember that the whole point of you saying no is so that you can have more time for yourself, right? Because when you start saying no to things that you don't necessarily, when you start saying no to things that you feel obligated to do but actually don't want to do, it actually makes room for the things that you love and want to do, which is the whole reason why it's so important for you to take time for yourself. So you know what you actually want to do. Like, when you say no, don't be afraid to stick to your no, because it's okay. It's okay to not have the energy for things. It's okay to not want to do things. It's okay to just say no. It's okay to not want to do stuff. Like, sometimes we feel like we got to over explain on why we can't do XYZ, why we're saying no. I'm saying no because I don't want to. Period. Point blank. I'm saying no because I don't want to. Another thing that really helps me with remembering that it's okay to say no is affirmations. Because sometimes, like I said in the beginning, I know for me, sometimes when I say no, it feels like I'm letting somebody down, or it feels like it feels like, oh, I can't accept or I can't handle this responsibility. And so I have to constantly reassure myself that no, I'm actually being wise when I decline certain offers. I'm actually being responsible when I say no to certain things, because I'm making room for the things that I actually want to do. I'm making room for opportunities that are actually for me, instead of things that I feel obligated to do just because I'm in this setting or I'm with these people, right? So affirmations really, really help me when it comes to feeling anxious about rejecting somebody's invitation or their offer or their request. Some of the affirmations that I really like are like, it's okay to say no. If they're really my friends, they'll be okay with my no. Opportunities that are meant for me would not stress me out. Like, when I say no to some things, I'm saying yes to the things that I really want. Like, repeating those things in my head, repeating those affirmations in my head helps me, especially when the person that I'm saying no to is making it seem like I was their only option. You know, you got people like that. Like, if you don't help them, they ain't got nobody else in this world. They just might die if you don't help them. Them the people that ask you for help every 3 minutes. And I get it. You might feel obligated to help them. They're probably your best friend. No, like, they're probably somebody that's really, really close to you. And it's okay to want to help them. And it's okay to help them sometimes. But you can't drop yourself helping other people. Like I said, then you'll be running on E. Like, when you start to say no, I literally cannot stress this enough. When you start to say no to things that aren't really for you, to things that you don't really want to do, you literally make room for the things that you are called to do. You got to make room. Me and my mom say it all the time. You got to say out with the old so you can make room for the new. Out with the things that you feel obligated to do, and in with the things that you actually love. Right? So if after listening to this episode, you're like, but Jasmine, I still don't know how to say no. Like, I am still super nervous about saying no. Like, I know I want to take time for myself. I know that I'm not going to let my friends down, but I can't shake the feeling. I can't shake the anxiety. Like, how do I say no? I got 3 tips for you. One, Admit your truth. You can't do everything. You can't do everything, and you are not Superman. You are not God, and you are not Superman. So sometimes people are going to need you, and you are not going to be there. As much as you want to be there for everybody and everything, if you do that, you will neglect the one person that needs you. You. You can't give anybody anything if you are running on E. If you have not taken the time to really evaluate yourself, how you're feeling, what you have the capacity to do, what you actually want to be doing, you can't give anything to anybody. I'll never forget at college orientation, we had a whole week of college orientation. They called it SOAR week. One of the first things they told us was to not overcommit to certain clubs, to like don't join like 10 different clubs, join like 2 different clubs, because it means more if you can give your 100% to these 2 clubs versus if you can give 10% to 10 clubs. Those proportions are off, but you get what I'm saying. Like you can't dip your toe in 7 different pools and then expect to like thrive and swim in all of them, you know? Accept your truth. You're not God, you're not Superman. You can't do everything. And you should be your own priority. So it's okay if you can't do certain things. It's okay. And if somebody else can't accept that, they just can't understand why you won't help them. They just can't understand why you can't spare $20. I don't understand why you can't stop what you're doing to help me with my homework assignment. I don't understand why you can't stop to go to the club with us. If they don't understand, give them time. And if they still don't understand after some time, cut them off. Yeah. So accept your truth. You can't do everything. Period. And when you feel yourself at your wits, that means you needed to stop 3 yeses ago. Period. 2, be honest. I used to be a person that liked to over explain myself. I didn't like to do it. I just felt like people needed an explanation for why I was doing certain things. The truth is, 9 times out of 10, people are not owed an explanation for what you do and why you do it. But if it makes you more comfortable, be honest with why you can't do XYZ. Hey, I'd love to go to this party, but I'm really not comfortable being around these people. And it seems like we're going to be riding in the car with them. And, I'd just rather not go. Or, actually, I've been working on certain habits of mine. And so I don't think it'd be best if I hang out with you this weekend. Or, honestly, there's a whole lot on my plate. I can't stop what I'm doing to help you with this, that, and the third. Or I can't add this to my plate right now. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to be honest. And a lot of times that's the best way for people to understand why you are saying no. Like they got to respect it. You're being honest. You would if you could, but you can't. Period. And even if you could, but you wouldn't, that's okay too. Like being honest is one of the best ways to set boundaries because it lets other people know where you stand, right? If you're saying, hey, I really don't like hanging out with these people and it seems like we're going to be riding in the car with them. Okay, well, I just won't ask you to hang out when we're hanging out with these people. Not because I don't love you, but because I understand that you don't feel comfortable hanging with these people. Period, point blank. Like saying no is literally the first step to really good boundaries. So it's okay to be honest. That was tip 2. It's okay to be honest. 3, be direct. Don't leave a foothold. There's a scripture, and I think it's Ephesians 6:13, where it says, "Don't leave the devil a foothold." It's like you're supposed to flee from sin and not leave the devil a foothold. Do not leave a foothold for negotiation. Whoa. People want to try to negotiate your boundaries, okay? Like I said earlier, oh, but it's just this one time. Oh, but it's this. Oh, but it's that. Oh, but it's not a lot. Oh, but we won't be out. We won't be out all night. It don't matter. That don't matter. That don't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. Okay? Be direct. Don't leave a foothold for negotiation. Hey, I don't like when we do this thing. Hey, I don't want to hang out because I don't like when you do the XYZ. Like, be direct. And the best way to be direct is to be honest. When you say no, it doesn't have to be rude, but I encourage you to not be overly apologetic either, because it's okay for you to not tolerate, not want to do, make room for certain things. That's okay. So when it comes to saying no, admit your truth, be honest, be direct. And if people can't understand or grasp why you won't hang out with them like you used to, or why you just don't drop everything for their convenience like you used to, that's on them to figure out. Right? In the meantime, you need to be worried about you. In the meantime, you have to pour into yourself, because in the long run, we talk about investing in yourself, things in the short term and the long term. In the long run, you will be exhausted trying to please other people, and you won't even know who you are at the core. You'll spend so much time pouring into what other people want and other people's dreams and what other people want you to do for them that you won't even know who you are. So yeah, remember, it's okay to say no. That's it. It's okay to say no. Like, I want us to be comfortable setting boundaries and saying no. No, because I don't want to. No, because I don't want to pay money. No, because I don't want to hang out with them. No, because I don't want to hang out with you. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be brutal. It doesn't have to shatter your world or shatter your relationships. If it does, you have to reassess why no is such a big trigger for you or whoever's around you. That's it. It's okay to say no, okay? And y'all, like, this week, say no. Say no this week. Saying no to things that no longer serve you. Saying no to things that you don't really like doing anymore. Saying no to putting yourself last. Like, because when you say no to things like that, you're saying yes to things you actually want, things you actually love, things that are actually aligned with your purpose and your calling. So I'm interested. I'm interested to know, what are y'all saying no to this week? What are y'all saying no to this month? What's something that you've been wanting to say no to, but just haven't had the guts, the gall, the wherewithal? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're saying no to this week. I love y'all. And I'll see y'all next week.